There are moments in every life when the path becomes unclear, when the heart feels heavy and the soul feels burdened by questions that have no easy answers. We live in a world that rushes forward with noise and distraction, yet still people feel more lost than ever. They walk with a crowd and yet feel alone. They succeed outwardly but feel empty inside. They wear smiles but are silently drowning in despair. When life feels lost, it does not mean that you are weak or broken. It means you are human. It means something inside you is crying out for direction, for truth, for light in the darkness. There is a reason the human heart hungers for something more than money, success, or popularity. These things come and go. They do not satisfy the deeper ache of the soul. What you are truly longing for is not found in the temporary things of this world. It is found in the eternal. In the truth that your life has meaning, and that meaning comes not from your past mistakes or present confusion but from a greater purpose designed long before you were born. Being lost in life can feel like walking through a thick fog where no voice seems clear and every turn feels wrong. But even when you feel like you have gone too far, when you have made too many wrong choices, or when guilt has built a wall so high you cannot see past it, there is still hope. There is still a way. The way is not through striving harder or pretending to have it all together. The way is through surrender. A surrender not of weakness but of trust. Trust that there is one who knows the way even when you do not. You may think that because of what you have done or failed to do you are beyond help. But that is a lie. No one is too far gone. No one is too broken. Every person, no matter their past, can find a new beginning. What you feel right now, the weight, the confusion, the silence, it does not define your future. It is not the end of your story. It is a chapter, and every chapter can turn. Life does not become clear all at once. It is a step-by-step journey. You do not need to have all the answers to take the first step. All you need is the courage to say yes to the possibility that you are not alone. That your life was made for more. That healing and direction are possible. And they are. In the darkest times, when you feel abandoned or ashamed, when the noise of the world tells you that you do not matter, that is when the truth whispers louder than ever. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. There is a path forward even if you cannot see it yet. There is hope even if you cannot feel it. There is love even if you have never known it before. Do not measure your worth by your lowest moments. Do not let fear decide your future. You may be lost, but you are not without a guide. You may feel broken, but you are not beyond repair. There is a peace that passes understanding, and it is waiting for you. Not because you earned it, but because you are loved beyond measure. When life feels like a storm and nothing makes sense, remember this: storms pass. Confusion lifts. Wounds heal. The night ends. And morning comes. You were created with intention, with a future in mind. The very fact that you are breathing right now means your story is not over. There is still more ahead for you, more than you can imagine. But to see it, you must take that first step. A step of faith, a step of humility, a step toward truth. And when you take that step, even if it feels small, everything can change. Not because life becomes perfect, but because you begin to walk with purpose. And that is where life begins to make sense again. Feeling lost is a part of the human experience, not a sign of failure. We live in a time when everyone feels the pressure to have it all figured out, to be successful, to be happy, to move from one goal to the next without pause. But life does not move in a straight line. There are bends and valleys, seasons of light and seasons of darkness. To feel lost in such moments does not mean you are failing, it means you are alive and searching. When a person feels lost, they are often overwhelmed with guilt or shame. They ask questions like, what is wrong with me, or why can't I just get it right? But those questions come from a misunderstanding of what it means to be human. Life is not a test to be passed with perfection. It is a journey filled with growth, struggle, discovery, and redemption. No one walks through life without scars. No one has all the answers. And pretending that we do only deepens the feeling of being lost. To be lost is not to be worthless. It is often in our most uncertain moments that we are being prepared for something greater. The feeling of being lost is like a spiritual alarm going off inside of us, telling us that we are disconnected from something vital. It is not a punishment but an invitation. An invitation to stop running, to stop pretending, and to start listening. listening to that still small voice that says you were made for more. The world tries to silence that voice. It fills our minds with noise, distractions, opinions, expectations. We are told to chase after things that promise fulfillment but never deliver. We chase after wealth, popularity, achievement, and approval, but find that even when we catch them, the emptiness remains. That emptiness is not a curse. It is a clue, a sign that our souls were not meant to be satisfied by temporary things. When you feel lost, do not numb the feeling. Do not run from it. Instead, face it. Ask yourself why you feel disconnected, why you feel empty, and then look deeper. Because often the greatest transformation begins not in clarity but in confusion. It begins not in strength but in vulnerability. When you finally admit that you are lost, you give yourself permission to be found. And being found is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming real. It is about learning to live honestly, to seek truth, not comfort, to follow purpose, not popularity. And that begins by recognizing that feeling lost is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter, one where you no longer pretend to have it all together but instead walk in humility and faith. This world praises those who appear confident, who seem to have direction. But real strength is found in those who admit their weakness, who admit they need help, who are willing to stop and ask for guidance. That kind of honesty is rare, but it is powerful. It opens the door for real change. You may feel lost today, but that does not mean you are lost forever. You are not wandering without hope. You are on the verge of discovery. You are standing on the edge of clarity. And the moment you stop trying to fix it all yourself, the moment you open your heart to something greater than you, that is the moment the path begins to appear. That is when peace enters. Not because your life is fixed overnight, but because you realize you were never alone in the first place. Worldly success cannot satisfy the deeper longings of the soul. We live in a world obsessed with success. From the time we are young, we are taught to chase achievement, to build a name for ourselves, to gather wealth and possessions, and to measure our worth by the size of our influence. The world claps for the strong, the popular, the powerful. Yet quietly, many of those very people sit in silence at night with a question they cannot answer. Why do I still feel empty? There is a deep hunger inside the human heart that no trophy, no paycheck, and no applause can ever satisfy. This hunger is not for things, it is for meaning. We are not just bodies walking through life, we are souls in search of something eternal, something unshakable. We buy homes and cars, wear expensive clothes, climb ladders of fame, and yet often find ourselves lying awake, restless, confused, and aching for more. That ache is not a weakness. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is proof that your soul was made for something far greater than this world can offer. The world teaches us to cover the ache with entertainment, to mask it with distractions, to numb it with possessions. But the truth always finds its way back. We were not made to live just for ourselves or our image or our success. We were made to live for something beyond us, something higher, something sacred. When you build your life only on what the world values, you may gain everything and still feel like you have nothing. How many stories have we heard of those who reached the top of their field only to spiral into depression, addiction, or even despair? They had it all by worldly standards, yet their hearts remained hollow. That is because the soul knows what the world does not. It knows that money cannot buy peace, and fame cannot replace love, and comfort cannot erase guilt. True fulfillment comes not from adding more to your life, but from aligning your life with truth. A truth that reminds you that you are not defined by your status or your failures, but by the purpose you were created for. And that purpose is not to impress others or to build empires that one day fade. Your purpose is to know love and give love, to walk in truth, to serve with humility, to live in such a way that your life shines even when no one is watching. Some chase success to escape pain. Others chase it to gain approval. But in both cases the soul still cries out, because approval from the world is never enough and escaping pain does not heal it. Healing begins when you stop running and start listening. When you ask the deeper questions. Why am I here? What really matters when everything else is stripped away? What do I want my life to stand for when the applause fades? There is nothing wrong with ambition or success. But when they become your God, they leave you empty. The human heart is not satisfied by trophies or titles. It longs for peace. It longs for love. It longs for a truth that doesn't change with culture or popularity. And that truth is not found on a stage or in a bank account. It is found in the quiet places, in stillness, in honesty, in humility. If you have reached success but feel lost, do not be ashamed. Many have stood where you stand. The next step is not to chase more but to go deeper. Ask yourself what you are living for. Ask yourself if the things you are building are feeding your soul or just feeding your ego. Ask yourself if you are truly known or just seen. If you are truly free or just admired. Because at the end of life, no one will ask how famous you were. They will ask how you loved, how you gave, how you endured, and how you stood when it mattered most. The world's definition of success fades, but the soul's purpose endures. And when you live for that purpose, you find the kind of joy the world cannot offer and peace that success cannot give. There is a reason you still hunger even when you have everything. It is because the soul cannot live on applause. It needs truth. It needs grace. It needs purpose. And that is not something you chase, it is something you receive. And when you receive it, everything changes. Not outside but inside, where it matters most. Surrendering control is the first step toward clarity and healing. One of the most difficult things for any person to do is to let go. We hold tightly to our plans, our dreams, our fears, and our image of how life should be. We grip the steering wheel of our lives with white knuckles, determined to find our own way, to make sense of everything, to fix what is broken, and to force things into place. But what happens when all that control still leaves us empty? What do we do when we've tried everything and still feel lost? The truth is that control is an illusion. No matter how hard we try, we cannot control every detail of our lives. We cannot control how others treat us, we cannot control the pain that comes, we cannot even control our next breath. And yet we fight for control like it is the only thing keeping us afloat. But often it is our attempt to control everything that drowns us. When we try to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, we break. Not because we are weak, but because we were never meant to carry it all. Surrender is not a word many people like to hear. It sounds like giving up, like defeat, like failure. But surrender in its truest form is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is recognizing that we are not all powerful and that we need help. It is the moment we stop trying to be our own savior and admit that we need something greater than ourselves to step in. That is not giving up, it is stepping up. It is laying down pride and picking up peace. The journey to healing always begins with surrender. As long as we are holding on to every broken piece, trying to force them to fit, we will remain in frustration. But when we place those pieces into hands greater than ours, healing begins. Not always instantly, not always visibly, but deeply and truly. That kind of healing cannot happen as long as we insist on doing it all ourselves. We must learn to let go. Letting go does not mean becoming passive or careless. It means trusting that there is a purpose greater than your plan. It means believing that even when things do not make sense, they are not out of control. It means resting not in the certainty of the outcome but in the goodness of the one who sees the whole picture. That is the beginning of clarity. Clarity does not come when we force answers. It comes when we quiet ourselves enough to listen. When we stop running and striving and finally sit still and say, I do not have all the answers, and that is okay. That moment of surrender becomes the turning point. Not because we become perfect, but because we become open. Open to being led, open to change, open to truth. So many live in torment because they are afraid to surrender. They are afraid of losing control, of appearing weak, of letting others see their vulnerability. But it is in our vulnerability that real connection happens. It is in surrender that real transformation begins. And when you finally lay it all down, your fear, your pain, your confusion, your shame, you create space for peace to come in. There is a quiet strength in surrender. It is not loud, it is not proud, but it is powerful. It says, I cannot do this on my own, but I know I was never meant to. It says, I will stop trying to control what is not mine to control and trust the one who holds all things together. That kind of surrender does not end your story, it begins a new chapter. And in that chapter you will find that the pressure starts to lift. You begin to see more clearly. You begin to feel lighter. Because the weight of the world is no longer yours to carry alone. You are walking with a guide who sees beyond your moment and knows the way forward even when you do not. That does not mean the road is always easy, but it does mean you are never alone. When you surrender, you are not losing yourself, you are finding your true self. The one that is not defined by fear or performance or control. The one that was always meant to walk in peace. And peace does not come from having everything figured out. It comes from trusting even when you do not. That trust begins with surrender. And surrender begins when you say with an open heart, I cannot, but I believe there is one who can. Your past mistakes do not define your future. Every person carries a past. Some memories are filled with joy, others with regret. Some choices we celebrate and others we hide, hoping no one ever finds out. It is part of being human to make mistakes, to fall, to choose the wrong path, to speak the wrong words, to hurt others and even to hurt ourselves. But just because a chapter in your life was dark does not mean your whole story has to remain in shadows. So many live each day under the weight of yesterday. They walk through life with their heads down, not because they are weak but because they are ashamed. Shame is a heavy burden. It tells you that your mistakes are your identity. It whispers that you are beyond forgiveness, beyond healing, beyond hope. But that is not truth. That is a lie that keeps you bound to what was and blinds you from what could be. Your past is a part of your journey, but it is not the definition of who you are. Every scar tells a story, but scars also show that healing has taken place. The fact that you are here now, breathing, still standing, means that your past did not destroy you. It shaped you. It taught you. But it does not have the right to define your future unless you give it that power. You may look at your life and see brokenness, but brokenness does not make you useless. In fact, many of the strongest people you will ever meet are those who have been broken and have risen again. They are not perfect. They are not without pain. But they are proof that there is life after failure, healing after hurt, and redemption after regret. Too often we let guilt chain us to a place we were never meant to stay. We replay our failures in our minds again and again as if we can undo them by punishing ourselves. But guilt has a purpose, and it is not to destroy. Its purpose is to lead us to change. Once that change begins, once your heart turns toward what is right, guilt has served its role. The only one who wants you to remain in that prison of shame is the voice that wants to keep you from moving forward. There is a powerful truth that many forget. You are not the same person today that you were back then. Time has passed. Lessons have been learned. Tears have been shed. Growth has taken place. And even if others cannot see that change, even if they still point at who you used to be, you do not have to accept their judgment. The only opinion that truly matters is the one that sees your heart and knows your future. Forgiveness is real, not just from others but within yourself. You cannot control how others view your past, but you can choose how you respond to it. You can choose to rise. You can choose to begin again. You can choose to believe that the best is still ahead, not because you are perfect but because you are willing to grow. Willing to learn. Willing to change. It is never too late to start over. Some of the most beautiful transformations happen later in life, when people finally stop letting their past define them. They begin to speak truth over their lives. They begin to take steps forward, no matter how small. And each step becomes a testimony that change is possible, that renewal is real. Every person has an eternal purpose greater than their circumstances. It is easy to believe that life is just a series of random events, that everything we go through is just chance, and that our existence has no deeper meaning than what we see around us. Many live their entire lives under the weight of this belief, waking up each day simply to survive, going through motions without direction or hope. They work, they eat, they sleep, but deep inside they carry a silent question that never goes away. Why am I here? You were not born by accident. You were not placed on this earth to simply drift through your days. You were created with intention. Before your first breath was drawn, there was a purpose already placed inside you, a reason you are alive at this very moment. That purpose is not based on your status, your background, your mistakes, or even your current struggles. It is eternal, and nothing that happens around you can take it away. Many people measure their worth by comparing their lives to others. They look at people who are wealthier, more successful, more confident, or more talented, and they feel small. They believe the lie that they have nothing special to offer. But comparison blinds us to the truth. The truth is that your value is not found in how much you achieve compared to someone else. It is found in who you were made to be. And that identity is not temporary. It is unshakable and eternal. Do not let one chapter convince you that the book is finished. You still have pages to write. The pain of your past can become the foundation of your purpose. What once brought you shame can become a source of strength not because it was good but because it was overcome. Let the past teach you but do not let it trap you. Let it humble you but do not let it haunt you. Your mistakes do not disqualify you from a meaningful future. They qualify you for grace, for empathy, for a depth that only those who have fallen truly understand. So lift your head. You are not your failure. You are not your darkest moment. You are not the sum of your worst decisions. You are more. You are loved. You are called. You are capable of rising again. And every time you take another step forward, you are proving that your future is not chained to your past. It is free. And so are you. Your purpose is not to chase applause or success but to live a life that echoes beyond your time on earth. A life rooted in truth and love, a life that brings light to others, a life that remains steady even when storms come. That kind of life cannot be built on popularity or possessions. It is built on knowing who you are and why you were created. Do not let your past disqualify you or your pain discourage you. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not without meaning. There is a purpose inside you that is waiting to be awakened and lived out. And that purpose is far greater than anything this world can offer or take away. Hope is always available no matter how dark life feels. There are seasons in life when everything feels heavy, when the silence is deafening and the days blur together in a cloud of uncertainty. In these moments, hope feels distant, like a fading light barely visible through the storm. You try to hold on, but your grip weakens. You try to smile, but it feels forced. You try to believe things will get better, but the weight of your pain pulls your heart deeper into despair. And yet, even in the darkest hour, hope remains. Hope is not always loud. It is not always a shout or a burst of energy. Sometimes hope is a whisper, barely audible yet deeply real. It is the small voice that says, "Do not give up." It is the quiet strength that keeps you moving when everything in you wants to stop. It is the invisible thread that holds your heart together when everything feels like it's falling apart. You may not see it, but hope sees you. There is no pain too deep, no failure too great, and no situation too hopeless that hope cannot enter. The beauty of hope is that it does not depend on circumstances. It is not born from perfect lives or peaceful conditions. It is born in the struggle. It is born in the battle. It is born when you have every reason to quit, but something in you chooses to keep going. That something is hope. So lift your eyes from your circumstances. Stop letting fear write your story. Your life is not small. It is sacred. You were made for more than survival. You were made for significance. You were made to live with purpose, to walk with hope, and to know that your existence matters both now and forever. People often look for hope in things that fade. They search for it in relationships, in money, in titles, and in the approval of others. And when those things fail and fall away, they feel abandoned and empty. But true hope does not come from outside, it comes from within. It is rooted not in what is seen but in what is unseen. It is anchored in the unshakable truth that you were made for more than this moment, that your story is not finished, and that there is still light even if you cannot see it yet. When life is hard, hope reminds you that pain has a purpose. That tears are not wasted. That brokenness is not the end. Hope does not deny reality, it defies it. It says, "I see what is happening around me, but I believe there is something greater beyond this." It looks at the facts but holds on to faith. It sees the storm but trusts in the sunrise. Some days hope is found in the smallest things. In a kind word from a stranger, in the beauty of a sunset, in the warmth of a memory, in the strength of a prayer. These moments are like flickers of light, reminding you that the darkness will not last forever. And even when you feel like hope is gone, it is never truly lost. It may be buried beneath your pain, beneath your fears and disappointments, but it is still there, waiting to rise again. There is power in believing that tomorrow can be different. There is healing in choosing to hope even when it hurts. You do not have to see the whole path to take the next step. You do not have to have it all figured out to believe that something better is ahead. Hope does not require proof. It only requires a willing heart. If you are in a dark place right now, know that you are not alone. Many have walked where you walk. Many have faced hopeless nights and still found a reason to rise in the morning. You are stronger than you think and more loved than you know. The very fact that you are still here, still breathing, still searching for hope is proof that it has not left you. Hope is always available, not because life is easy but because grace is real. Because no matter how long the night, the morning always comes. No matter how deep the valley, there is always a path forward. And no matter how many times you have fallen, you can rise again. Do not wait for everything to be perfect before you allow hope to enter. Let it into your heart now, right where you are. Let it speak to your pain, let it breathe life into your dreams, let it carry you through the storm. Because hope is not a fantasy, it is a lifeline. And it is reaching for you now, inviting you to believe once again that your best days are not behind you, they are still ahead. Even when you feel most uncertain and alone, there is always a greater hand guiding your life with care and purpose. The feeling of being lost is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of your awakening. It is the stirring of your heart calling you to rise again, to believe again, and to walk forward with faith. You are not forgotten, you are not abandoned, and your life has meaning beyond what you can see. Keep walking, keep hoping, and never forget you are deeply loved. This is not the end, it is only the beginning. Thank you for listening.